The Madam Web trailer introduced a host of new Spider people to many fans for the first time, and while the trailer focuses extensively on Dakota Johnson's Madam Web, the lead of the film, it's hard to see what differentiates the rest of the characters from each other. Isabella Merced, Sweeney, and Celeste O'Conner all play Spider heroes, but what makes them all so different? Starting with Johnson's Madam Web, Cassandra Webb is presented as a paramedic working in New York City. Cassandra's mother has a history with radioactive spiders, something that seemingly connects to her newfound powers of clairvoyance as well as the villainous figure of Ezekiel Sims. Cassandra is thus linked through the so-called Spider World, and connected to three other characters relating to Spider-Man. While the trailer for Madam Web provides hints about Cassandra's superhero origin, the reveal of how she gained her powers will likely be left for the film's release. In Marvel Comics, Cassandra Webb was actually a mutant. Born blind in the comics, Cassandra began using her mutant powers of clairvoyance to become a medium before she was put into contact with several Marvel Comics characters, such as Spider-Man. The main powers of Madam Web are clairvoyance and precognition. Through these powers, Webb is able to perceive future events before they take place. Other psychic abilities that Madam Web possesses are telepathy and mind reading, astral projection, psychic surgery, and mind alteration. Although he stands out a little more, the movie's antagonist was shown to be Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahir Rahim. First being introduced in the comics back in 2001, he was first presented as a man of mystery, who somehow had the same powers as Peter Parker. Ezekiel sought Peter out to warn him of Morlun, a vampiric predator who fed upon the life energy of people with animal powers. Ezekiel challenged Peter's perception of his powers, eventually revealing that his own powers came from a bond with the spider god Anansi. Ezekiel believed that Peter had acquired the same bond, and that radiation coincidentally infected the spider that delivered Anansi's gifts. Ezekiel was ultimately revealed to have stolen his powers. He saved Peter only to bond with him, so that Spider-Man would be punished instead of him. This came back to bite Ezekiel, however, as the ritual that bonded him to Peter caused him to absorb some of Peter's heroic nature. He ultimately sacrificed himself to save Peter, paying the price for his treachery. Ezekiel Sims had all the same basic powers of a standard spider person. While old age had weakened his body somewhat, he was still faster, stronger, and more durable than the average human. He could stick to any surface, while crawling like a spider. Ezekiel also possessed his own spider sense that warned him of approaching danger. This sense was notable in that it did not work on other spider people. He was a gifted businessman who somehow used his powers to build a small fortune. He was also an expert on the occult, particularly in regards to totemistic bonds and African religions. The Ezekiel Sims that we see in the trailer differs quite a bit from the one we know from the comics, with him being overtly villainous and wearing a costume, something he never did in the comics. It appears that the Madam Web movie may be merging the characters of Morlun and Ezekiel Sims. At one point in the first trailer, Ezekiel seems to be draining the life out of Maddie Franklin with a touch. This was how Morlun fed in the same comics that introduced Ezekiel Sims. Where it starts to get a bit confusing is the next three characters. In the trailer for Sony's movie, Julia Carpenter, played by Sweeney, is one of the characters that Cassandra Webb is connected to via the latter's powers. In the film, it is made clear that Carpenter is destined to become a superhero in the future, Spider-Woman. Webb and Sims can foresee this, tying the characters together in the film's story. In Marvel Comics, Julia Carpenter was recruited by an organization known as the Commission, who wished to create their own superhero. Carpenter was then approached and agreed to be part of what she assumed was an athletic study, before unwillingly becoming one of the Commission's test subjects. Julia was then infected with spider venom among other plant extracts, developing powers almost identical to Spider-Man's and thus becoming Spider-Woman. Julia Carpenter's powers in Marvel Comics are very similar to those of Spider-Man. As such, Spider-Woman has enhanced speed, strength, durability, stamina, and reflexes. In place of web shooters, Spider-Woman has psionic abilities that replace some of Spider-Man's more iconic powers. She can manifest these psionic beams into webs for web-slinging and other web-related powers. Her wall crawling is also made possible by the usage of these psionic powers. Another of the two Spider-Women who will appear in Madam Web is Maddie Franklin, played by Celeste O'Conner. Much like Carpenter, Franklin is one of the few women connected to Cassandra Webb, who is destined to become another version of Spider-Woman, leading to a conflict with Ezekiel Sims. In Marvel Comics, Maddie Franklin obtained her powers via a ritual named the Gathering of the Five. Her father, Norman Osborn, and a handful of other people, including Madam Web, used this ceremony to receive unknown powers. Maddie then received superhuman abilities also similar to those of Spider-Man, and began to fight crime in his place after his mysterious disappearance. Eventually, with the blessing of one Spider-Woman and Jessica Drew, and after the defeat of another in Charlotte Witter, Franklin gained even more abilities and quickly became known as the new Spider-Woman. Maddie Franklin obtained the same physical enhancements like Julia Carpenter did, from enhanced durability, speed and agility, to superhuman strength and reflexes. After taking the mantle of Spider-Woman from Jessica Drew, Franklin also obtained the ability to wall crawl, shoot venom blasts, and summon psychic spider legs. In order to differentiate her with the other Spider-Woman, and Spider-Man himself, Maddie possesses the power of self-propelled flight, which was granted to her during the Gathering of the Five. The fourth and final Spider-Man character found in Madame Web's trailer is Anya Corazon, or Spider-Girl, played by Isabella Merced. The trailer depicts Corazon as a girl living in the same apartment building as Cassandra Webb, explaining yet another connection between the latter and the three other women in the film. In Marvel Comics, Corazon is first known as the superhero Araña. Chosen as an initiate for the Spider Society by Miguel Legar, Corazon developed Spider-Man-like powers and became Araña. These powers initially came from Legar, who transferred some of his life force into Corazon. Concerning Corazon's origins as Spider-Girl, the character was targeted by the Kravinoff family, who wished to resurrect Kraven the Hunter. This brought her into contact with the wider world of Marvel Comics superheroes, resulting in Jessica Drew dubbing her Spider-Girl to avoid any potential confusion with other Spider-related heroes. Concerning Spider-Girl's powers, they are identical to those of Spider-Man. The enhanced strength, durability, speed, agility, and reflexes of Spider-Man are all present in Spider-Girl, as is the former's ability to crawl on walls. Regarding differences, Spider-Girl can camouflage herself in shadows, allowing her to stay invisible from enemy eyes. One other difference between her and Spider-Man is that Spider-Girl's webbing is organic as opposed to Peter Parker's synthetic web shooters. These powers, as well as Anya Corazon's origins, will likely be explored in Madame Web alongside the journeys of the other three Spider-Man characters found in the Sony Spider-Man Universe film. Are you looking forward to another Sony vs. Spider movie? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more Marvel videos, and remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.